to say that we have the Vice President from ONDC as well, Mr. Nitin Nair. Nitin, you're on mute.
Hello, everybody. This is Nitin joining.
Hi. So the way we'll do this session is, first of all, thank you for everybody for joining in today, for taking out time to actually understand how ONDC can benefit your business. So the way we'll do it is, Nitin, given that he's very closely working for ONDC, he will introduce what Open Network for Digital Commerce stands for, why it is being initiated, how you can benefit from it. And then we'll move on to a detailed session from Adnan, who I'm sure most of you have already interacted with. So we'll start in a couple of minutes, Nitin, just for everybody to settle down. We'll allow it about 3 minutes more, and then over to you, post which Adnan will take over.
Sounds good, Malvika. I'm here.
Sure. And thanks, Nitin and Malvika. So coming back to what I was sharing, because we also have about 2 minutes left with us, which we can use to our benefit. And this is something which I'm not making up, or I'm just sharing with you just for the sake of it. This is something which me and Malvika has also experienced, that in many of our sessions, people are able to network. They were able to not only find interesting business owners, they were also able to get into deals during these sessions. So we always encourage in our sessions that you should network with other business owners who are joining this session. God knows, you may be able to find a suitable buyer or supplier in this session. So because I have suggested, or I'm sharing this suggestion with everyone, so that's where it becomes my responsibility as well to do to take the initiative. So I've taken the initiative. I've shared my contact details with everyone in the chat. So in the similar fashion, you can also start networking. What is your organization? What products or services do you offer? Where you are located? What are your contact details? If you have a website, please do include the link. And if you can also add what products or services that you're looking at. So I can see few participants have already started working on my suggestion. Now, before starting the session, we have 1 more minute left, and that's where let's understand the format of this session. So Malvika has already explained, Nitin will help us understand more about ONDC network, what is ONDC network, and how it can help all the wonderful business owners who are joining us today. Now, after that, I'll do the technical session wherein I'll explain how you can make your GlobalLinker online store become part of ONDC network. What are the steps? So I'll take you through the step-by-step process. Now, there can be a scenario that you have a question, you want to understand something which is not very clear to you. So you can see there is this option called Q&A. Right? So you can add your question there. You can technically add your question in the chat as well, but you see there are so many interactions happening in the chat. So there can be a scenario that the question that you have added in the chat might get missed out. So that's where my personal recommendation is, if you have a question, firstly, you shouldn't feel shy. You should ask your question and you can add that question in the Q&A. Now, many times people feel that what will others think? That is not looking like a very logical question, or they'll laugh at me. Don't worry, there's an anonymous option also available. So if you are feeling shy, you can use anonymous option and you can ask your question. But what is more important, that all your doubts and queries should be cleared. All right, so it is 4:05 p.m. And we'll getting started with today's session. Once again, good evening and a warm welcome to all the participants in today's session. Over to you, Malvika and Nitin.
Yeah, I think we'll just go straight into it. Nitin, if you can briefly talk a little about what is ONDC, why should a business really activate it or join the ONDC network, and how it's going to help them.
Thanks, Malvika. I'll try and do this in 10 minutes. And it's a verbal one. I'm on my phone, so the sound or the quality is not. Please feel free to just interject and let me know. Right. So thank you. It's great to be in front of an esteemed group of businesses which are trying to consider ONDC as an option. Right? So ONDC is a community and government-led initiative. We are a Section 8 company, not for profit, which has been set up under the aegis of DPIIT, Department of Promotion of Internal Industry and Trade, under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Right. So essentially, our mandate is to build a step change in e-commerce in India, and this includes multiple levels. If you look at it today, the e-commerce penetration in India is about, different estimates put it about 6 to 7%, right? And that's far lower than peer economies or developing economies like China, Korea, UK, where it is, around 20, 25%. Right? So there's a significant headroom for growth that we would want to look at. Also, if you look at digitization of stores, especially if you take something like a Kirana, then you've got 15,000 Kiranas that are digitized versus, there are about 20 lakh Kiranas, 2 million Kiranas that are there, right? And e-commerce today in India largely remains a tier 1 city phenomenon, right? And if you are somebody in a tier 1 city, we hear a lot about it, but as you move away from tier 1 to tier 2, tier 3 town, you will realize that the e-commerce penetration remains very, very low. And that's another area where we want to bring in change. We also want to increase the pin code coverage of the entire e-commerce network to be able to cover as much of India as possible. Now, let's take a minute to look at, what does it mean for a business, right? So today, if you are doing any kind of online transaction, you have 2-3 ways of doing it. You can have your own website. You can be on one of the e-commerce platforms, one or more of the e-commerce platforms, and then you start getting orders. Now, you're trying to generate demand on your website. There's a certain expenditure that you incur for it. And digital marketing is not cheap, right? On the platform, we routinely hear challenges around commission structures. Harish, sorry, is my voice better now?
Yeah, I think you'll possibly have to be just a slightly more louder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No. Okay. Sure. So I'll try and be a little louder, and please feel free to let me know if it's not clear. So on the platforms, we routinely hear complaints around very high commission structures, right? So both of these opportunities are not easy for a small business. So how does ONDC come in? ONDC come in, and we're looking at two broad things we do. One we call unbundling. And the other is interoperability. And I'll explain what that means. Now, if you look at a platform-centric model, right, you have two parts to it, right? As a seller, you are the supply, right? And as a consumer, you are the demand, right? Now, if you were to take a moment and say, and this is a little bit of a mental model change, something like ONDC doesn't exist anywhere in the world. So allow me to paint this picture and, let's try and imagine it together, right? That you segregate the demand and supply of any platform into two parts, right? So when you're selling something, you're the seller, right? One part. And when somebody is buying, he's a buyer, and they are one part. Once you segregate these two, right? Now, each part, if it exists, imagine if each part exists as a business, right? You are on a platform that only focuses on onboarding you as supply, and the buyers come on some other platform. Right? And now think of a world where if these two, right, individual, buyer side platform, which you call a buyer app, and a seller side app can interact with all the other buyer and seller apps, right? Particularly, you're on one buyer app, but you can interact with the seller app of all the platforms that are online, right? That is where interoperability comes in, right? And what does that mean? Now, what does that mean in terms of today's businesses, right? So look at what is, live on ONDC today. Let's take an example, right? So one of our first buyer apps to go live was Paytm. You log into Paytm, you open the Paytm app, you go to a section that says, I want to buy food, right? So I want to buy, a burger, right? You just say, you ask for a burger, and that request is relayed to the ONDC network. And that network then relays it to all the seller apps. People have onboarded restaurants, for example, or let's say grocery, right? So you're looking for a 5 kg bag of atta, right? So it relays to, now it's a hyper local request, right? You're not going to look at other cities to give you atta. It's available everywhere, right? So essentially, this request gets relayed to all the seller apps, and they will look at which stores in your vicinity, it's a hyperlocal category, offer this, right? They will relay this information back to the buyer app, which is Paytm in this case, and Paytm will show you all the options of the store A, which has this atta, the store B, whichever brand they have, they will store it. You will, as a consumer, then make a choice, and then that is an order that is placed. You'll make a payment, and it will get relayed to the store that here is an order. All right. Now, in this case, there is a seamless interaction between the buyer on the buyer app and the seller on the seller app. It could be, say, Bitsilla, or any of our other seller apps, right? Or it could be, I mean, even GlobalLinker for that matter, right? If GlobalLinker has onboarded you, GlobalLinker is the seller app in this case, right? And a transaction happens, right? And both parties are focused on their respective side, right? So GlobalLinker is your seller app talking to you, right? And the consumer is talking from Paytm, and this seamlessly happens. Now, the beauty of the protocol is this happens at scale across all apps on the network, right? You could be on any buyer app, like we have 15 buyer apps today, right? Talking to about 40 odd seller apps, which are in different domains: grocery, food, beauty and personal care, fashion, etc., and be able to interact and transact. Additionally, if that category requires delivery, we have about 7 or 8 logistics apps, which will also provide the logistics service on the network, and then you are able to dispatch food or grocery or a fashion item to the customer's home, right? The other beauty of the network, the other 2, 3 other features that as a seller that you'll say the value add is you get all the customer information. You know who the buyer is, all their details, because you are sort of doing the logistics dispatch, not the platform, right? And you or your seller app is doing the logistics dispatch, right? So that's one value add. The second would be that you are seller is portable on the network, right? So you don't need to log into multiple seller apps like in the platform world. Each platform means that you will have to log into the platform. But in the ONDC world, you need to be only on any one seller app, because all the demand that comes, as long as it is relevant and applicable to you, you will be able to see on the seller app, right? And the seller app will relate to you, right? Also, you have the opportunity to change the seller app without having any change in your profile, all your parameters like profile, sales, and all being carried forward. So this is the broad concept of what we're trying to do. And in the interest of time, I will just focus on how we're looking at it. Currently, domains such as grocery, food, beauty and fashion, electronics, etc. are live. Mobility is also live. And as we expand, we are present in 2 cities as beta, Bangalore and Meerut. And so, Prakash, you just need to talk to your seller app, which is GlobalLinker in this case, and you can register and get started, or you can join directly if you have the tech. But coming back to what I was saying, we have alpha presence in about 286 cities. Right? That's where we have at least some sellers registered, right? And we continue to expand and grow, and all categories are growing. And we have onboarded close to about 30,000 sellers across 35,000 sellers, and the number grows every day, right? And we have close to about 45 to 47 lakh SKUs which are live on the network, right? And this is an everyday growing area. When we have 35 seller apps which are trying to onboard sellers on a daily basis, the number continues to grow very fast. So that's a broad pieces of what ONDC is, what you can do, how to join. There are 2, 3 ways. You can join using a seller app. In this case, GlobalLinker is your seller app. You can evaluate other options of seller apps that are available on our website. If you have the technology and the technical team capability, you can even join the network directly, right? Even if you are a website which uses one of the e-commerce platforms such as Shopify or the similar ones, we have connectors inbuilt in them that can directly help you join the network as well, right? So that's broadly how you can join. Looking forward to as many of you joining the network soon. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nitin. Before you step out, I think a couple of questions if you can address before you leave. The first one being, is ONDC able to provide us export related customers?
So export is coming, right? We're building it out, and we have at least one export discussion which is happening. So if you know, while I didn't speak about it, B2B just went live, right? Where businesses that can buy from each other just went live about a couple of days back. We're also looking at export as an area where you will be able to get demand from international entities, where you can respond, and using the B2B framework, you'll also be able to do exports. But it's coming. It will take us a couple of months for it to be fully ready and be live on the network.
Great. I think you answered the next question, which was around the B2B aspect. Is ONDC actually helpful in supplying goods in only bulk quantity, or is it even for B2C?
So right now we are largely B2C, but B2B has just gone live, and we will have B2B also picking up steam pretty quickly.
Okay, great. I think most of the other questions are around how do I join the ONDC platform, which is what Adnan will now focus on. So
Sure.
thank you so much, Nitin, for joining in and sharing your insights. Over to you, Adnan.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Looking forward to having all of you on board soon. Good day.
Thank you. Thank you, Nit. All right. So we all now understand what is ONDC. Now, let me share with you how you can become part of ONDC. But before I do that, I would want to ask a question from you. And firstly, how many of you have e-commerce websites? You can raise your hands and I can understand how many of you have e-commerce websites. I can see number going up. So I can see 6 hands are raised. Now, oh, okay, now it is climbing about 10. Now, how many of you have struggled to get customers onto your website, especially your e-commerce website, because you have created an e-commerce website, if you wanted to do business through it, right? And that's where you have tried different mechanisms. And one of the sort of routine struggle with e-commerce websites or e-commerce businesses that you have to work on getting customers to it, right? And I can see there are a lot of people who have raised their hands. So what ONDC basically helps you, especially as a seller, is to solve that problem that you don't have to essentially keep digging the well every day to keep that flow of customers coming, because your visibility increases exponentially because your website is just single entity. But with ONDC, it gets spread out to as many number of buyer apps which are there. All right. So that is in a nutshell how it can benefit you. There are other advantages as well, which Nitin mentioned. But let's get started with the technical discussion, because again, imagine that many of you are extremely eager to understand how can you join ONDC. So I'll start sharing my screen and then we'll quickly get started with our discussion here today. Now, I hope I am audible, and in case you have any issues, you can let me know through the chat. And in next few seconds, you'll start seeing my screen. Let me just hide this so that it is not obstructing our view. I am currently logged into a demonstration account. I use this account to conduct my training workshops, etc. So I'm currently logged into this account, and now I'm going to explain to you how can you enable ONDC onto your online store. In case you have not created an online store, there can be a scenario that you haven't created an online store. So don't worry on that. It is a very simple and easy process. If you would want to understand that, then there's tutorial content which is available. So once you'll click on online store, it will take you to the next page. That's where you'll find the tutorial content, or you can go to YouTube. That's where search for GlobalLinker. On our YouTube channel, you'll find a lot of tutorial content and you can review and understand how to create an online store for yourself. So if you haven't created, it is a very simple 5-step process, 15 to 20 minutes, you'll be able to do that. So if you haven't already done that, you can do it, and then you can follow these steps, which I'm going to explain. Now, and here onwards, this is where I'm assuming you have already created your online store. All right. So we have to access the seller panel. How do you do that? You have to click on this button, online store, which will open the seller panel. I've already opened the seller panel. This is the seller panel, which you open whenever you're accessing it through your GlobalLinker account. Now, to enable ONDC, there are few steps that we have to follow. So I'll take you to the first step. Now, this is, you can see, a prior to first step, right? This is something which may not be required because you may have updated that piece of information already, but just as a precaution so that you don't get stuck when you are actually enabling ONDC. So just to avoid that, we'll do this pre-step. Right? What is that pre-step? So in the left navigation, you can see there is store settings. We'll click on that, and then we'll click on store details, which will open the store details page. And here you can see we have a horizontal navigation. So this is vertical, this is horizontal. So here we have to go to the address tab. I'll just repeat this once more for everyone's reference and understanding, and I'll try to like go a little slow today so that everyone can understand and yeah, then later stage use this information. All right, so far what we have done, we have logged into our GlobalLinker account, and then we clicked on online store, which opened the seller panel. Then in the left navigation, we firstly clicked on store settings, and after that we clicked on store details, and after that we clicked on address tab, right? So step 1 was to open the GlobalLinker account. Step 2 was to click on online store. Step 3 was to click on store settings. And after that, step 4 was to click on store details. And step 5 was to click on address tab. Now here, you can see there's a Google location updated here. Now, many businesses I've noticed that they haven't even updated the address on the top. So please update that, and also update this Google location. This is critical. So if you haven't updated your Google location, in that case, once you're trying to submit your application, it will give an error. So please ensure that you have updated this address. Now, this particular capability is powered by Google. So if you have already added your location on the Google map, it will be able to pick. Otherwise, you can scroll and you can put the pin and you'll be able to provide the location. So fairly easy activity that you have to do, but this is something that you have to do prior to starting the enable ONDC activity. This is something that you have to do. All right. So we have understood this is a activity that we have to do before we are actually starting our application, or we are starting enabling ONDC onto our online store, onto our e-commerce website. All right. So once we have done that, again, in the same tab, in the same store details section, you'll see towards the extreme right side, we have enable ONDC. I'm just highlighting that for everyone's reference. Here it is. Again, if you want to understand how to access this section, let me just show the entire path once again so that no one gets confused. So open the seller panel, and then in the left navigation, click on store settings. After that, click on store details. Once you have clicked on store details, then on this horizontal tab, you'll see enable ONDC. Simple. Click on that, and this will open up. Now I've added these details for the benefit of time, but I'll just walk you through what all information do you have to provide. The first piece of information that you have to add is the GST number. You have to add a GST number here. After that, you have to add the IFSC code of your bank account. Now the question comes, why do you have to provide your bank account? Now, this is where I'll take a moment to explain how the ONDC model works. So we have buyer app at one end, and then you are the seller at one end. Now, GlobalLinker is the entity which is presenting you. So you are here, GlobalLinker is here. Now buyer app is here, because buyer apps don't desire to settle with like millions of sellers who are part of ONDC network. So they prefer to settle with network participants. So for example, GlobalLinker is one of the network participant which is there on ONDC. So they just want to settle with these entities which are there. And then these entities then settle with the respective sellers, right? So how this ONDC relationship will happen, that when an order comes, you will dispatch the order, deliver the item to the customer. Then the payment from the buyer app will come to GlobalLinker, and then GlobalLinker will settle it with you, right? So let me explain this scenario with an example. So for example, Meesho is one of the buyer app on ONDC network. Now there is a customer that goes to Meesho and then they places an order on your online store, just talking hypothetically that they are placing an order on your store. Right? So they went to Meesho, they liked one of your product, and then they have placed an order. Now you have received an order, you saw that this is the product that the customer has ordered, you pack that item and then you deliver it to the customer. The item has been delivered, shipped, and customer has received it. Now, after that, that was the product part. Now comes the money part. How will you get the money? So Meesho will make that payment to GlobalLinker, and then GlobalLinker will make that payment to you. So that is how that process works. Now, That is why these account details are required, because if you are not providing these account details, how will we give the money to you? How will we settle the money to you, right? So that is why these account details are required. So a lot of time in one of the previous session when I was explaining about this onboarding journey, a lot of people got confused. Why are you asking for account details? So I just thought of explaining that this is the reason why these account details are required. If these are not provided, we'll not be able to pay you. All right. So please, and again, ensure that these details are added properly. So you have to add IFSC code, your bank names, bank's branch, account number. You have to input the account number twice. You have to specify whether it is a current account or saving account, and then what is the name. What is the name of your organization in which the name in which you have taken the bank account. So you have to input that. And then you have beneficiary address. Now, there can be a scenario that the beneficiary address, which is there in your bank, is different from the address which you have added to the store. You can add it here in this section, which you are seeing here. You can just add it there. But in case it is same, you can just use this option, which is same as store address, and it will just populate the address which is there in your store, and then you can proceed ahead. After that, you'll see, so store address is this one, which is displayed here, and this is the address that we have added. So it is up to you whether you want, you can type this, otherwise you can use it same as the store address. Now, the last thing that you have to do is to agree to the terms of use. So before you do that, I strongly recommend that you review these terms of use. The link is here. So you can click on it. It will open like this, and you can review the entire terms of use here. So please review the terms of use. It is not a very lengthy document. You'll be able to review it. Now, why am I stressing on the fact that you should review the terms of use? Because a lot of times on help desk, on my personal numbers, people asking what is the settlement time, what happens to the commission, etc. All this is clarified here. So it will save you that effort of reaching out to someone and asking that question. All this information is available here, which you can review, and it will not take you like more than 5 minutes to go through it. So just review the terms of use. Once you are done, click on I agree to terms of use, and then click on save and enable, which will do stage number 1 or step number 1 in the ONDC enablement process. So far, I think this is clear. In case you have any questions, please add your questions in the Q&A, so that when we are breaking into the question answer round, that's where I'll be able to provide you answers to your questions. All right, so that is step number 1 that we have to do to enable ONDC on our online store. All right. So we have done this. Now we have to go to the catalog section, because we have to update the products that we have on our catalog with certain ONDC mandatory fields. All right. So let's go to the catalog section. How do we do that? In the left navigation, we have to click on catalog, and after that, we have to click on products, which is here. So it will take us to the product section. This is the product section, and I'll just take this top product as an example. Now, just imagine that I want to enable ONDC on this particular product. In your case, you'll be wanting to enable it on all the products, but let me explain the manual process and then the bulk process. So whenever you are enabling ONDC on your online store, for one product, you'll have to do it manually, and after that, you can do that in bulk. So there can be a scenario that you have like 400 or 500 products on your online store, and then just one product you have to do it manually, and rest of them you'll be able to do that them or update them in bulk. How you can update them in bulk, I'll explain that little later. Firstly, let's understand if you have to do it manually, how can you do that? So let me first explain that process. So we are in the product section, and we are taking this product as an example. So this is a smartwatch, right? So we'll click on this button, which is edit, right? So again, reiterating for everyone's reference, now what are we doing? We have already done that application submission activity where we added our GST number, bank account detail, and then the beneficiary address. We have done that activity. Then we came to the catalog section, because this is where we have to add ONDC mandatory fields. There's few fields which are mandatory. So we have to do that, right? So we are here, and now we have to click on this option, which is edit. So we will click on this edit button, which will open the screen. Now we have to scroll down all the way to the bottom, and this is where you'll see this option ONDC related details. I'm just highlighting it for everyone's reference, right? You can see ONDC related details. So you have to click on that and it will open these drop downs. Now there are two drop downs which are available. Firstly, you have to look at the top drop down, which says parent category. And this is where you'll see a drop down. At the moment, you have grocery, home decor, pharma and electronics, fashion and beauty and personal care will be available soon. They're under development. So as ONDC keeps on adding new categories, we keep on adding them here. All right. So for example, this is a electronics item. It is a smartwatch. So I'll select electronics and then we have subcategory here. So we'll click on the subcategory and this is where we have different options which are available. And there is a smartwatches category. I'll select that and then I will click on save. Now I'll not do that. Otherwise, this dummy product will also start appearing on ONDC network. We don't want to do that. But in your case, you have to click on save and which will enable this feature. Now, if you are someone who is into grocery business, who is a Kirana store owner, as we popularly call them. So in that case, there are few product related fields which are also required. So let me just change that for a moment and show you. So I'm selecting grocery and let me select gourmet and world food. And here you can see there are these FSSI license number. These are typically required for edible item, which a person can consume, they can eat. So for those kind of products, FSSI numbers are also required. So here you can see the moment I've selected grocery and I've selected gourmet and world food. So that's where these additional fields have started appearing. Let me just show you another example. So for example, bakery, or if you're going for food grains, that's where FSSI number. So for example, if you're selling rice, so that's where FSSI number is not required. But if I click on save for a moment and take you to the product variant section, there are few variant level details which are also required. So here you can see manufacturer packer name, manufacturer packer address, month or year of manufacture, and net quantities. All these fields are also required. Now, these fields vary from category to category. So for example, if I'm changing this product, for example, let's change it to electronics. Yeah, change that to electronics. Now, if you are going to the product variant, and that's where you can see there are no ONDC related, ONDC related field. And this is where you have the manufacturer's name, address, when this product was manufactured, and how many units there are in the product, right? So there are two levels on which you have to update these information. Firstly, you have to select the category and subcategory from here. If you're in grocery, that's where a few additional fields like FSSI number, etc. are required. At this stage on this screen, which is basic details, once you have updated these, you have to click on save to update these details. Once you have updated these, then you have to go to price and variant, which is here. And then you have to click on this edit icon. It looks like a pencil. You have to click on it. And then this overlay or pop-up, whatever you would want to call, it will open up. And here you have to scroll down, and here just above images, where you have the images section, just above that, you'll see ONDC related details. And this is where you have to add manufacturer packer name, you have to add manufacturer packer address, month or year of manufacturer. So for example, if this smartwatch is, let's say, from Apple, so you have to type the Apple's manufacturer address, the name, address, when the product was manufactured, and net quantity, how many units are there in this product. All right, so you have to add all this information. Once you are done, this product starts appearing on the ONDC network. Now, it is extremely important, or it is essential, that when you're adding this information, you should add all the fields. If you haven't added all this information, your products will not appear on the ONDC network, right? So that will not happen if you are, for example, you just came here and selected electronics and smartwatch, clicked on save, and done. You are thinking that your products will start appearing on ONDC network. It will not happen because you haven't added the other pieces of information. There is one more piece of information which is important that you should add or update in case you haven't updated, and which is country of origin, right? That is also mandatory. So I'm assuming that you may have already updated this information. That's why I have not pointed it out or flagged it separately. But just for your reference, that country of origin is also mandatory. So for example, if you have updated these values and then you went to price and variant, and that's where you updated these values, but you haven't updated or added country of origin, still your products will not appear on ONDC network, right? So it is extremely important that you're updating details in the basic section and then where in the product variant section, both the places plus country of origin. So if you have to write these down, so what are the three places where you have to update? Place number one, ONDC, category level. And in case you're from grocery, then you have to add those FSSI number related details like this, right? So that is place number one. Place number two, which is on the same screen, is the country of origin, which is here. You can update it. Place number three is price and variant. And this is where you have to click on edit icon. And then on the overlay, ONDC related field like manufacturer, packer name, address, etc. So these are to be updated. So once you have updated all these, including country of origin, that is where your product will start appearing on ONDC network. It takes about 48 hours for the product to get populated and then start appearing on the buyer app. So 48 to 72 hours is something which it takes for it to start appearing. So that is something that you have to keep in mind, that you're doing it today. So it will not happen like tomorrow it will start appearing. It will take some time. So 2 to 3 days maximum it will take, and then your products will start appearing. But it is essential in that we are doing all this activity. All right. Now comes the next part of our discussion. That is, if you have to do all this, I've explained to you that if you have to do these, then how do you do them in bulk? You have to do at least for one product. Hope I've been able to make this point very clear. So once you have gone to the store settings section, and that's where you have filled that application, which I showed to you earlier. Let me just go back to this section. So I'm talking about this section. So once you have done this activity, you have to go to the product section in the catalog, and at least for one product, you have to do this manual activity, which I have just explained to you. For one product, you have to do it manually. Rest you can do it in bulk, right? So I showed you how you will be able to do it manually. Now let me show you how you can do it in bulk. It is again done in two parts. The first part is using this file, which is download products. You click on this file and a Excel file gets downloaded. I've already downloaded that for the benefit of time. This is the file which gets downloaded. Let me just zoom in a little bit. These are the columns which are there. So it has product title, summary, description, category, meta, tags, labels, etc. Keep scrolling to the right side of the file. And that's where you'll see ONDC category and subcategory. So this is the parent category and this is the subcategory. So you can select the suitable one and you can type it or copy paste it depending on your requirement. You can add the category and subcategory to the file. In case of groceries, you'll have few additional fields like FSSI number here, which will be displayed here in case you have selected the groceries. So those will be displayed here. Once you have added all this information to the Excel file, you can go back and upload the file from here. Now, you might be wondering from where we can get the category and subcategory names, which you can see are pre-populated here. So for the product which you have updated, obviously they will be populated. Now for the other product, you can just go here, click on edit or edit any of the product, and you can see the values from the drop-down, right? So the values are available here. Now we are working on a system wherein we will be giving you a separate provision to update ONDC categories and subcategories. But for the time being, you can see the values from here, from these two drop-downs which are here, right? ONDC category and subcategory, you can get the values from those drop-downs and you can just copy paste the values here. Once you're done, save this file go back to the seller panel and upload them. Now, from where you'll be uploading them, you'll be uploading them from here, update products. So this is from where you'll download the file, and this is from where you'll upload the file back once you have made those changes, right? So that is the first part. Now, the second part is to download this file. You have to do both the files. You are not done just doing one file. You have to do both the files. So you have to download this file now, which is download CSV. So this is first, this is second. You have to download this file. This will download a variant update file. Let me just show you that file. I also have that file open here. This is the file which gets downloaded. This is the file. Now, again, you have to go to the extreme right side of the file, and that's where you'll see these fields: manufacturer packer name, manufacturer packer address, month or year of manufacture, and then net quantity. In groceries, few more fields might be there, like nutritional information, additive, etc. So you can also add that. And once you have added all this information, again, save the file, go back here and click on bulk edit CSV, upload this file, and the information gets updated. And that's where your products will start appearing on ONDC network. It will take some time for population of the catalog, but after that, so 48 to 74 hours maximum, your products will start appearing if you have updated all these fields, whether you have done in bulk, whether you have done manually, but you have to ensure that you have updated all the fields. All right. So that is how you will be able to join the ONDC network. This is where I'll turn off the screen share, and then we can break into the question answer round. So if you have any questions, you can ask them. I can already see there are a bunch of questions in the Q&A, so you can keep adding your questions and we'll start answering them. The first question that I can see, if we only want foreign buyers, how many foreign businesses are registered? I am not able to understand the question. So can you please explain the question? I can see the next question is from Mr. Naresh Chandra. So Nareshji, first is you saw what are the essential fields or mandatory fields which are required to be there to showcase the products on ONDC network. So just ensure that all the fields are updated. In addition to that, I will do a review of your online store. And if any particular information is missing out, I will update you, and then we'll ensure that your products are appearing on the ONDC network. So next question is, share some examples of seller app. GlobalLinker is a seller app. And if you go to my store, if you go to ONDC website, you can find all the sellers and buyer app there. Next question is, what other value-added services are offered through ONDC? You can go to ONDC website and everything is detailed there. Next question is from Mr. Roshan, and it is an interesting question. That is ONDC going to merge with GEM as it is a government platform? Now, this where I think you have still not understood the difference between ONDC and any other platform. ONDC is not a platform. That is the most important thing that you have to understand, or everyone, not going personally. So when you're thinking about ONDC, ONDC is a network. It is not a platform. So ONDC does not do anything. It is just providing that conduit, right? So it is like a pipe. You have seller here, you have buyer here, and it is that pipe which is connecting buyers and sellers, right? That is ONDC. So, and it is one of the kind network in the world, right? So today we are connecting, like me and you are connecting, and we are connecting through internet, right? So there is a internet telephone network which is there, which is allowing us to connect. Now, similarly, ONDC is that network which is allowing buyers and sellers to connect. so that they can do transactions amongst themselves, right? So GEM is a platform, ONDC is a network. Hope you understand the difference. What next question is about what is a settlement time for or what is the TAT for settlement. So it varies from buyer app to buyer app, but typically it is once your return period is over, after that the buyer app settles. So for example, your return period is 7 days. So after 7 days, buyer app settles. So the buyer app will settle with GlobalLinker, and in the next 2 days will settle it with you, right? So essentially your return period plus 2 to 3 days. Mr. Prashant, you can reach out to me. Enable ONDC is not appearing on your panel. You can connect with me and I'll help you out with that issue. Next question is from Mr. Rahul, and he wants to understand how will it benefit small e-commerce business owner, and this is where the actual power of ONDC lies, because small e-commerce business owners will be the biggest beneficiaries of ONDC, or how it is envisioned to be, how it is imagined to be. Because if you realize, and if you look at India's e-commerce ecosystem at the moment, it is very skewed. So there are like very dominant players and who are controlling most of the market, right? Any small business owner in the e-commerce space, if they are trying to get orders, etc., they have to spend heavily and they have to compete with these giants. And it is a very difficult struggle that they have to do. Now, ONDC came into being just to solve for this challenge so that it can democratize e-commerce in India, and it can make it easier for the sellers to find buyers. And ONDC is a platform which will greatly help you as a small e-commerce business owner. Any other question from any other participant? Because I cannot see any question in the Q&A. Still, if you have a question, you can add that to the Q&A section, or if there is any question, you can also add that in the chat. I can see there is one question in the chat. What about the sales return? So return is if it is a return which is attributed to the seller. For example, you have sent a wrong product, or if you have sent a defective item. So in that case, obviously, you have to bond the cost of the to and fro. But if it is a customer attributed return, or if the customer is requesting for a return beyond the return period, so in that case, the buyer application will bear the return costings, etc. Right? So all that is clearly defined in the terms of use. When you'll review it, you'll get a clarity on that. I can also see another question, is ONDC for domestic or international? So at the moment, it is for domestic. In future, it will also open up for international commerce. Mr. Prakash, I think I have already answered your question about sales return. Next question is also very interesting, which is from Mr. Harish, and he wants to understand what are the ONDC charges and fees, and why am I saying this interesting word? Like there's nothing. It is a common question. The interesting part is on ONDC, the buyers find a fee, because I have the customer. Now I'm giving you the customer, so I would want to earn something, right? I'll not do it for charity. So that is where all these platforms which are called buyer application, for example, Meesho or Paytm, is a buyer application, and they will be charging a commission. So they typically charge 3.5% as their commission. But that commission is not charged from you. It is charged from the customer. So when a customer buys from ONDC, that commission is added back as a convenience fee. Right. So whenever you'll receive an ONDC order, you'll see that it has one more component, right? So it will have the product value, it will have the shipping charges, and it will have one more component, which is called convenience fee. Now that convenience fee is the commission. So you'll not receive that convenience fee. Basically, you'll just receive the product value and shipping charges that you have added on your online store. Other than that, the commission is directly taken via the buyer application from the buyer, right? So that's where it becomes convenient. Otherwise, it will be similar to selling on marketplaces, right? If you're paying the commission from your pocket, right? So that's where that commission hit, which comes from selling on marketplaces, and that's where sometimes commissions are exorbitant. So that is the unique aspect of ONDC, that as a seller, you're not bothered about any commission as such, and GlobalLinker is also not charging any fee for providing this service. I hope I've answered that question. So next question is from Mr. Roshan. We are not getting proper engagement on GlobalLinker. Please suggest few measures. So I would love to do that, but to do that, I would need to understand more about your business. What I would request you to do is to share me your online store and your profile detail, your business name, etc., so that I can review it and then I can share my suggestions with you. I've already added my contact details in the chat. I'll do that once again, so you can connect with me, and I will be more than happy to help you with that or guide you with few measures that you should take. Any other question from any other participant? Before we conclude this session, we are nearing our closure time. All right, wonderful. So now this is where I understand that enabling ONDC is something that you'll be doing for the very first time, and you may get confused or you may get stuck. You have my contact details. I've added them in the chat. So if you are getting stuck, you can connect with me. You can drop me an email, or you can drop me a WhatsApp message, or you can call me. On calls, I'm not sure how promptly I'll be able to answer, because many times I'm busy with meetings or conducting these kinds of webinars or sessions, right? But if you drop me a WhatsApp message, or if you drop me an email, I'll definitely either personally assist you, or I'll have someone from my team reach out to you and guide you, right? So that service or that assistance is always available. Don't feel that if you're getting stuck, whom to reach out, etc. So we are here to help you out. If you're getting stuck, if you need any information, or if you need any clarification, please do feel free to connect with us. All right. So this is where we should conclude the session. I cannot see any new questions. Oh, there is one question that has come. So next question is from Mr. Rahul, and this is related to how we'll set up the buyer site on GlobalLinker. So you don't have to actually set up the buyer site on GlobalLinker. For example, once you have enabled your product on ONDC on GlobalLinker, they will automatically start appearing on the ONDC network. And they appear on ONDC network, all these buyer applications pull the catalog and then they display. So there is no sign up process or other onboarding process that you have to go through. So any buyer app that is part of ONDC network, they can pull your catalog and start displaying it, right? So there's no onboarding process. Otherwise, in future, when you have like millions of buyer apps, you would not go to million buyer apps and do the sign up, right? It will be impractical, impossible. Similarly, you'll have millions of sellers. There are already 35,000 sellers. You cannot go to each seller and tell them, hey, please, we are a buyer app, please sign up with us. That's impossible, impractical, right? So that is, again, the beauty. That's what ONDC is providing, that you don't have to get into all these sign up activities, onboarding activities, term discussion, nothing. You don't have to. You have to just become part of the network and you are visible everywhere. They can see your product, they can display it to their customers coming and they're placing orders. So all that is happening automatically, autonomously, and that is the power of ONDC network. All right, so this is where we'll conclude the session for today. Thank you everyone for taking out time and participating in the session. Have a wonderful evening ahead. Bye-bye from our side for now.